Hi, this is Mr. Companion. Today we're going to take a look at a few options for digitally assigning tasks to students and some of the lab simulation assets provided to you by the DOE. So let's get started by taking a look at the slides. So you've probably noticed on the left-hand side of your screen a bunch of these gray slides. There's like 7 or so. Well, they contain important information. Things like implementation notes, support for MMLs, ELLs, and support for students with disabilities. But for right now, we're going to focus on slide 5. So slide 5 contains guidance for instruction and your implementation notes. It says here, slide 0, it just tells you that it takes about 45 minutes to complete and that you might want to break it up into 2 different lessons. Do what's appropriate for your own students. For slide 9, and again, slide 9 is the first slide of the actual notes and discussion. It tells you that it comes from the DOE's vetted virtual Doppler effect investigation, which you can get in 2 formats. You can get it in Word and you can get it on Google Docs. The slides in the lab are pretty much the same, no need to assign both. And I'm going to show you how to assign those in a way where students can write on the document. Now, before we move any further, I'd like to draw your attention to bit.ly/physicsvl. Below is a vetted set of browser-compatible virtual lab experiences that can be used for students enrolled in Regents Physics in the 2020-2021 school year. And you can see here that everything is tied in with New York City Department of Education 6 through 12 science scope and sequence. Now, each lab activity includes links to the lab activity or simulation, a student-facing worksheet, and in some cases, teacher-facing resources. Okay, so let's head back to the slides. So I'm going to show you how to do some integration with Google Classroom. So I'm going to click on one of these. It doesn't matter which one because we're going to be converting them anyway. And they're both .docx files. So when you open it up here, you have an option. It says to open with Google Docs. You could always download it as well, but we'll open it up here. It just saves you the step of uploading the document to Google Docs. And you can notice that you don't have edit access. So what you're going to want to do is go to File, Make a Copy. So I'm going to remove that copy of, and I'm going to call it Doppler effect. All right, so now I have the file editable because it's my file. I made a copy of it. But you'll notice that it's still listed as a .docx Microsoft Word format. That's not going to work for what we want to do. So we're going to change this. We're going to save it as Google Docs. Okay, great. So now I have the file. What I like to do is go to Share, and we're going to make this public. Now you could have it to be shared by anyone that's in the DOE, but your students are going to have to log in with the New York City Department of Education credentials, which from what I understand, not all students are aware that they even have an account. So we can change this, and you can change it to anyone with a link, or you can restrict it to only certain people. But right now, I'm going to have it for anyone on the internet can view this. I'm going to copy the link, and I'm going to hit Done. Okay, so I loaded up my Google Classroom. I'm going to go to Classwork, Create, Assignment, and I'm going to give it a title. Let's start off with today's date, and then this was Doppler effect. Please complete the lab attached. So you're going to click on Add, Link, and then we're going to drop that link that we found before. Students can view file. We want students to have their own copy. So when you click make a copy for each student, that will allow them to edit, to write on the document, and they'll have their own. It's for this one class. You can assign a number of points to it. The due date will make the due date Friday. You can optionally put a time on there. And the topic, you can create a topic. So unless you have one for labs, in this case, that's how I'm going to have that. Now you have the option to also include a rubric and you check for plagiarism, but we're not going to get into that today. You can also schedule it so that it can appear in the student's agenda at a later date, or we can just assign. Students now have a fully editable version where they can type in, they can make comments, they can edit. They really can do pretty much anything to this assignment that you may need them to do. Now, the only downside to this method is that students could accidentally delete part of the assignment. So I'm going to show you another method where you could have it so this is kind of saved as a background that they cannot edit. So the first step is we're going to take this document that we've just created and we're going to save it as a PDF file. So now that we have it saved as a PDF, we can use the snipping tool and we can screenshot that whole first page. Now we're going to save this as an image file. So here it says a JPEG. I'm going to call this Doppler 1 because it's the first page. I'm going to do the same thing to the second, and I'll do the same to the third. So now we're going to set those images that we just saved as our background. So you're going to right click on the first page, change background, and we're going to select that first image that we saved. We'll do the same thing for the second and the third. Now, you're going to create editable boxes, and these are going to be the only spots where students can edit. So here, I'm going to create a text box. I'm going to write something like type answer here. Make the text in red so it's a little easier for the students to see. And now I can copy these and I can add them wherever I want a student to be able to write. And when you're finished adding all the text boxes there, just give it a name and upload it just like we did with the other file. And students won't be able to adjust anything that you've done. The only thing they'll be able to do is type inside the box. All right, I hope I gave you some tricks that were helpful, and I'll be seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.